So this one I'm going to show you two different ways to solve it. Again, this is personal preference, but I thought I'd show you both because it's a little ugly looking. Might be scary at first. So the first way I'm going to do this is to simply start by rationalizing the denominator. I have a rad 8 on the bottom, and so I'm going to multiply the square top and bottom, or multiply by, sorry, the square root of 8 over the square root of 8, so multiplying by 1. Multiplying straight across, I get the square root of 24 on the top. On the bottom, I have that 2 multiplied by, and then square root of 8 times the square root of 8 is simply 8. And so I have two things to do here. I got to simplify the top and the bottom. Because on the bottom's the easy part. Let's start with that. That's 2 times 8, which is just 16. But on the top, that rad 24 can be simplified. That rad 24 is square root of 4 times the square root of 6. So that becomes 2 times the square root of 6. But wait, there's more. The fraction itself can be simplified. The 2 and the 16 have a common factor, so that can be reduced. And so 2 goes into 2 once, 2 goes into 16 8 times. And so now I'm left with the square root of 6 on the top and 8 on the bottom. And that is the simplest version of that answer. Okay, now another approach you could take, and again this is personal preference, is you might notice when you first see it that the square root of 8 in the denominator can be simplified. So you might decide to simplify that first. So if we do it that way, the square root of 8, so I'm going to leave the top as is. The 2 is still there, that's this 2. And now I know that the square root of 8 is the square root of 4 times the square root of 2. But the square root of 4 is 2. And so that bottom is just 2 times the square root of 2, which is 4 times the square root of 2. Top is still the square root of 3. Now I'm going to rationalize, and so now I'm going to multiply the entire thing by the square root of 2 over the square root of 2, which is going to rationalize our denominator. And now on the top, I have square root of 3 times the square root of 2, which is simply the square root of 6. And on the bottom, I have 4 times the rad 2 times rad 2. Again, with multiplying, you multiply the things you know how to multiply. Rad 2 times rad 2 is simply 2, but that's multiplied by the 4. So we're left with 4 times 2 on the bottom. And of course, 4 times 2 simplifies to 8. And we end up with the same answer. So again, personal preference. There's often many ways to solve these, but I thought I'd show you two since this one is a little tricky.